morning, I'm DK Roster. Welcome back to the TTT News. Now, there's an artist who says, build your vibes like a billionaire, like you ain't come outside in a billion years. Now, I don't know whether or not Mr. Ray Anthony Ryan Samora, also known as Curious Ringo, had an idea, but I can see that line resonating with people in a whole new manner when this thing finished. Now, the music behind that song is coming out of Detnator Entertainment Limited. We're happy to speak with the founder of Detnator, Mr. Baidawi Assing. Now, Badawi refuses an easy description. He describes himself as a man of many distractions. We're going to see how many we can pack into the time we have with him. Thank you for joining, sir.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I did not come up with that for myself. That was somebody describing me.
Well, we see if it's apt. And self-praise is no recommendation. But we wanted to describe some of those distractions leading up to Detnator Entertainment Limited. Thanks.
Well, I started, I guess, in the creative fields, doing art. That was like visual art and that kind of thing. And then I was always into music as well. I started DJing when I was pretty young. I started making tapes when I was about 8, and I actually started playing out, doing events when I was like about 11, 12. And that kind of led me into the whole field of production. My father is a musician, so I had that influence as well. And yeah, it started there, and from music into video, I was into graphics. Everything just kind of came together. And I guess what people would call it now is content creation, but back then it didn't have one tidy word for it. It was, whatever the discipline was. So
now, looking at the fact that in terms of saying, okay, well, we don't have a tidy word or a nice neat box to categorize you, you seem to defy being put into a box anyhow. But with regard to a sound, is there a specific sound that somebody can say, I hear this and it sounds like Detnator? Is there something like that, or a sonic fingerprint?
People would say so. I mean, I was, dabbling in different genres, and I don't like to stick to one thing. I mean, I listen to a lot of different music. I listen to, you name it, I listen to it. And I kind of always wanted to take different influences from, all the different things that I consume and put it into the music, but still have a local touch to make it, uniquely Trinbagonian, but I guess with some other international influences. So I think it's a kind of balance between, international, but yet still have that sense of local in it. And well, coming out of that is how we came up with the whole idea of Future Rapso, which was, doing adding some modern vibes. I don't want to say modern and make it sound like traditional rap. So it's not modern. It's just adding, I guess, stuff from my generation in terms of like hip hop and EDM and electronica, different forms of electronica, drum and bass and house and all of that, and kind of infusing it into the style of rap. So.
But in terms of taking things that would have been, or making things sound a little local, making sure that they have that stamp, you've also taken things that are local and given it a different feel, a different vibe. What are some of those that you've done?
That would be the soca remixes. That started, it was just like a kind of fun project to work on. And actually the first one I did it with my father. I was just kind of playing around in the studio. I got some stems from a source that I shall not name, but I got those and started just kind of playing around with it, and I was actually enjoying listening to an existing thing and then kind of reinterpreting it in, I guess, the way that, that I wanted to hear it. Not saying that anything was wrong with the original. I mean, without the original, I wouldn't have the the influence or the inspiration to do that. But it was just my way of adding my flavor, I guess, to something that was existing.
What's the most outrageous comment that you've got because of one of those refixes and somebody saying, hey, I never really thought of the song like that, but it works like this?
Yeah. Actually, one of the most popular ones is the Bungee Garland remix. That was the Red Light District. And yeah, that was, I did not expect that to take off in the way that it did, and that was a welcoming surprise. I was like, wow, I was really glad that people felt it, so they understood what I was going for,
And I
and
will
it
say that
resonated.
that remix is my favorite as well. And you know, sometimes I hear something and people might smile. Or this one, I just like almost like twisting my face a little bit because I'm feeling it. And even like the different syncopations in
Right.
the chorus and thing like, yeah.
Yeah. And again, that, I mean, yes, it modern and all that, but it's actually my father who kind of came up with the idea for the baseline for that thing. So, and I mean, my father is much older than I am, but even like he was hearing it, I was like, hey, this song is good, boy. Let me play with this a little bit, and he went on the keyboard and he was doing that thing. So it's not just a quote unquote young people thing. I think what we do, or at least what I try to do, is something that could appeal to everybody.
And the way
Um,
and the way that you're saying, you're talking about inclusivity and bringing in people, making sure that there is a local stamp to kind of place it within this space.
mm,
Once again, I'm going to Curious Ringo and try to quote him a little bit. So with him
yeah,
asking, who let them rebels in the building, masqueraders, blue devils in the building,
yeah,
Stickman Boy causing trouble in the building, Papa Boy causing trouble. You have
yeah.
Sailor Man jump back in the building, jamming on Dam Lorraine in the building. Moko Jumbi too tall for the building, so he still go
Still
limbo
go
and
them
crawl in the
and crawl
building.
in the
And he
building.
continues talking about Jab Molassie, Pierre Grenade, Tantan, Saga Boy, and
Yeah,
just bringing those elements in. How
yeah.
important is it to you that people always get a piece of something that is local from whatever it is you create?
I mean, so obviously from a creative perspective, it's important because, I mean, you're expressing yourself. And if we are expressing ourselves, I mean, I am a Trinbagonian. So I think that in itself would come out in what I trying to express. But even from like a marketing perspective or a business strategy, I think it's important to, if we put in a product out there, to bring something that unique to the table instead of, bringing something that already there. So I think it works on both ends of the spectrum, from the creative side and from the business side. I think it is very important to have that local thing, that's something unique to offer to the market.
And in terms of that local thing, what is airplay to you now? And because does it need to be on the radio? Does it need to be on the television? Because people are talking about they want local airplay. But what does airplay mean to you?
I mean, so that is a very contentious topic, because people say in the age of the internet, um, that airplay is not necessary. I think that a bit disingenuous for our market, only because, yes, the internet, you could find, talent out there. I mean, we all do it, from streaming, YouTube, wherever the case may be, SoundCloud. But in Trinidad and Tobago, is largely still the radio that making and slash breaking artists. People still look at the radio as the holy grail in terms of finding out what is new, what is hot, what is not, that kind of thing. So to say that radio play is not important, I think it's very important still in our markets. Even though we have the younger artists now that putting the stuff up online and it, growing out organically. That's like the whole Trinidad movement and thing. I mean, you're seeing that they have a kind of energy behind them, and that actually might start a rival that trend of thought, that, or that position, that airplay is not important, but baby steps. I think we're still in the infant stages of seeing that being a real challenge against traditional media.
All right, well, we are at the midway of this conversation. We come back with a slightly different energy. And when we return, we are speaking with Baidawi Assing. Stay with us. feel like I'm doing myself a wickedness speaking with Baidawi Assing, but shameless plug for Eatahfood. So thank you once more for joining us, Badawi. Give us a little history of Eatahfood. Thank you.
So Eatahfood started off as a thread back in the days of internet forums before social media. It was a thread started by Quincy Ross, and the original name was Bring It to the Table. It started off as a discussion on people talking about what was the best way to make macaroni pie. And that, people started talking about, different recipes, the way they do things and that kind of thing. And we took that and moved it off the forum into this new technology that was emerging called blogging. There was a site called blogger.com. It was the first site to start featuring the blogging technology and or the blogging platform. And we moved it there. And from the inception of, Bring It to the Table, it has evolved into what it is now, which is the Eatahfood channel.
Now, showing off your culinary skills is trending right now even more than usual as people engage each other during the pandemic. But Eatahfood predates COVID. So wondering though, saying, okay, well, it's one thing to have a conversation, but then saying, okay, well, this is something that we're actually going to put some effort behind and create that content. What went into that discussion? It
happened organically, to be honest. I had video equipment. I bought video equipment actually to promote the music business because I was seeing where the trend was going online. It still had a lot of people sharing stuff on. There were sites like mp3.com, it had Napster, Audio Mac, I think it was, and this was before SoundCloud. You had different sites of people sharing music. But then when YouTube became a thing, and that was before Google bought YouTube, I was like, you know what? Video, music, I could start to do like, little videos to go along with the little studio sessions with Curious and that kind of thing. And it's only by chance, one Eid, I was making a Jira chicken home, and we decided to pick up the camera and shoot me making the Jira chicken. And well, the rest was history. It was like, hey, you know what? This could actually be a thing, like cooking, shooting it, throwing it up online. It could be something. So yeah, it is a thing that this happened by chance. It was really aimed towards the music, but then it ended up being food. And I was always cooking. Cooking is not a new thing for me, so it kind of just happened, as I say, organically.
Like I tell some of my brethren, any boy can bubble in a trouble, but it's a different kind of bubbling.
Yeah, but, different kind of bubbling.
But with regard to using your voice though, I appreciate the fact that you don't try to sound like anybody else. You're not trying to be anybody else in the work that you're doing. And before you answer that, we're going to play a little clip of one of your latest uploads, and then we come back to you after that.
Okay.
Creamy sweetness and texture. When I add the callaloo bush. Now you could try to be a hero and toss this right now, and you would probably end up making a mess. My pro tip would be to cover it down and allow it to steam for a minute or so before tossing. It'll be much easier to accomplish. Now you see what's going on here. A proper fun happening, which means that we're building great flavor. This is getting better by the minute. Toss that up and make sure everything getting along with each other. Now, when I add the rice, I'll wash the rice a couple times.
Now, the fact that you're talking about, like, don't be a hero, no. When you explain that to me, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It's like me using the Naparima cookbook, which sometimes I say is the best thing to come out and laugh, but that is a back and we're not jumping into right now. But being able to be comfortable using your voice sounding like you, but at the same time even explaining what a proper font is, where does that come from? Is that something that you work on and is a conscious decision, or just it happened?
No. I mean, it's not a conscious decision to say that I'm gonna try to include something Trini in what I'm saying. I mean, I speak how I speak, and again, I guess it comes from that whole thinking of if I am putting something out, and as a competitive strategy, I don't want to put something out that already there. It's like, all right, it probably have other callaloo recipes. Actually, it probably have 50 other Kalaloo recipes online, what am I going to bring to the table to make my own difference? And the answer is me. So I guess for me, that's my whole approach to like anything that I do creatively. Is like it's a creative endeavor and it's an expression of yourself. It's supposed to be. So I will put a bit of myself into everything that I do, every piece of content.
But with creative endeavors, though, you have teeth. And I actually saw you post something about, well, oh gosh, man, if you take my content, at least give me a hat tip or something.
Yeah.
Take me through that process.
You know what is so people, a lot of people, when that happened, a lot of people message and was like, why you don't put a watermark on your thing and that kind of thing. Now, two things: a watermark not going to stop somebody from stealing your content. People will steal your content with the watermark and shamelessly post it. But the other thing is, it's almost like I don't want to present anything tacky. It's like I trying to present what we have in the most professional way that I can, without without borders, without restricting it. So I'm putting it out there, and yes, I know the risk that somebody would take it, but I'm hoping that people would see it and be like, hey, you know what, this looking good. How can I get in contact with this person to do something like this for me, or that kind of thing. So it's a risk, but I think in order to push our food forward and our culinary greatness, I would say, because we are culinary greats, Trinidad and Tobago, to push it forward in the digital space, I just think that it needs to be presented in a certain way. So there's a risk involved in doing that.
Have you seen responses kind of increase during the pandemic, or added more subscription, people actually tuning in, taking more shares, more likes? What was that? How has that been like?
Yeah, definitely. Since we've been on lockdown, since the first lockdown, a lot of people started following the channel more, because a lot of people was cooking. They couldn't buy food out, so people were cooking. People were messaging, asking for recipes. I started doing the lives because YouTube and all the platform was pushing more live content, because I guess they know people were in quarantine, and I guess they were trying to make people feel connected. So I was there, jumped on that one time, and it really worked. People they tuned into the lives. I would think that sometimes a video going on for an hour and a half, and people getting bored or whatever, but no, people stayed for the whole thing. It's that sometimes I was looking to end up, people was like, nah, don't end it, continue and that kind of thing. I think people were really, because of the whole isolation and the quarantine, they really wanted things to make them feel connected. So, that was a good thing. It helped, definitely helped.
And we want to thank you for helping us connect a little more and sharing some time with us. And we will share your handles and stuff as time progresses. But Baidawi Assing, thank you so much for joining us. We also want to thank you in terms of tuning in. So on behalf of the entire news team, I'm DK Roster. Have a good night.